Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we're going to do something really exciting. We are transforming the complex and, let's be honest, kind of intimidating academic concept of theory into an actionable, step-by-step masterclass. And we're going to apply it systematically across the board to all your humanities disciplines. We're talking language studies, linguistics, theater arts, music, philosophy, religious studies, English, literature, the whole shebang. Here is our masterclass syllabus for today. First, what is a theory? Second, science versus the humanities. Third, the classical foundations. Fourth, language, structure, and art. And finally, number 5, modern liberatory frameworks. Let's get right to it.
So, Section 1, what is a theory? We're defining the absolute highest achievement in research. Now, a theory is basically a systematic, highly rational form of abstract thinking about a specific subject. I love to think of it as the answer nature gives back when we ask her the right questions. The crucial point here, a theory isn't just some random guess or a gut feeling. It is structured, ordered knowledge that's been accepted by a body of experts, but only after some seriously rigorous critical assessment.
To actually form a theory, you need 2 main research procedures. Step 1 is the contemplative abstract part. This is where you sit down and literally imagine a hypothesis. Step 2 is observation and experimentation. This is where you test it to confirm or falsify that hypothesis, so you're moving systematically from a purely abstract idea right into concrete proof.
All right, Section 2, science versus the humanities. Different fields mean completely different methodologies.
There is this absolutely fascinating contrast between the natural sciences and the humanities. The sciences, well, they focus strictly on physical, natural objects, and they strive for total, value-free objectivity. But the humanities focus on human creations and the messy, beautiful human condition. So while a scientist tries to stay totally objective, a humanist is often quite subjective. They make prescriptive value judgments, acting almost like a kind of gadfly for society, right?
And you can really see this divergence in the theories themselves. Scientific theories are built on hard empirical evidence and predictable laws. Einstein's theory of relativity or Darwin's evolution. But humanistic theories are entirely different. They focus on human potential, free will, and subjective experience. Like if you're studying sociology or psychology, you'll see theories like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which puts all the emphasis on individual growth and self-actualization, rather than strict mathematical predictability.
Of course, this brings up some unique methodological challenges. For those of you in literary studies, history, or fine arts, well, you can't exactly just run a lab experiment. You have to selectively interpret facts. You have to navigate really complex background histories, like Erickson did when he wrote his biography of Martin Luther. You're dealing with the issue of historical uniqueness. Your subject simply can't be duplicated in a petri dish. And honestly, the hardest part is trying to understand the deeply subjective motives of a creative artist, all while trying to remain somewhat objective yourself.
Moving on to Section 3, the classical foundations. We're going from ancient Greece straight through to the Middle Ages. Let's trace how Western thought actually progressed. We kick things off way back in 428 BCE with Plato and his concept of transcendental idealism. Then his famous student Aristotle comes along in 384 BCE, totally shifting gears to empiricism. And then, jumping way ahead to 1225 CE, we have Thomas Aquinas, who creates this incredibly imaginative theological synthesis, blending faith and reason together.
Let's zoom in on that classic student versus teacher rivalry between Plato and Aristotle. Plato's theory of forms basically argued that true reality is made up of abstract, non-material, and eternal forms. Physical objects, just imperfect, flawed copies. But Aristotle's empiricism essentially brought those forms crashing back down to earth. He argued that the form or the essence of a thing exists right there within the material object itself, meaning you have to use sensory observation to understand it. If you're studying philosophy or religion, this fundamental clash is literally the bedrock of Western theory. To anchor his empirical approach, Aristotle came up with this brilliant system, proposing that all matter is a combination of 4 specific causes. You've got the material cause, what it's actually made of, the formal cause, its structure or design, the efficient cause, what or who actually made it, and finally, the final cause, its ultimate purpose or telos. It's just a remarkably systematic way to analyze the world around us. Okay, Section 4, language, structure, and art, applying theory to linguistics and creative performance.
I want to introduce you to Ferdinand de Saussure. He is universally recognized as the father of modern linguistics and a massive foundational figure in structuralism.
Whether you're in language studies, looking at phonemes, or analyzing broader cultural customs, you are almost certainly relying on these structuralist theories he pioneered. He basically figured out how human social convention creates meaning in the first place.
Saucer did something really clever. He separated language into two distinct parts. First is long. That's the abstract, shared system of rules and conventions of a language. The second is parole, which is the concrete, individual act of actually speaking. He argued that to truly understand linguistics, we can't just look at someone talking. We have to focus on that deeper, shared, abstract system of long. He also broke down the linguistic sign itself into two parts: the signifier, which is the actual sound image, like saying the word cat out loud, and the signified, which is the mental concept or picture of a cat in your head. The real game changer here is that Saussure showed the connection between a word's sound and its mental concept is completely arbitrary. There's no biological reason cat means cat, which means language actually shapes our human reality and mediates our understanding rather than just passively reflecting an objective world. Mind-blowing, right?
Now, moving from language over to music and theater, let's talk about the brilliant composer Igor Stravinsky. He offers us this fascinating concept called constraint theory, because as it turns out, unlimited, total freedom is actually terrible for creativity. He famously said, "You cannot create against a yielding medium." So the crucial takeaway here for musicians, artists, and creators is that an infinitely free medium yields absolutely nothing. You have to master the rules before you can break them. For Stravinsky, who used the strict classical tonal system as his boundary, all artistic creativity is ultimately just a very beautiful form of problem solving.
And that brings us to Section 5, Modern Liberatory Frameworks, Critiquing Culture, Gender, and Education. In media and film studies, theory becomes a really powerful lens for critique. Take theorist Laura Mulvey, for example. She used psychoanalytic theory to identify what she coined the male gaze. She broke down 3 interlocking ways classic cinema codes women as passive objects of visual pleasure. Step 1, the camera actually recording the event. Step 2, the spectator or the audience watching. And step 3, the male characters within the narrative looking at the female characters. It completely changed how we dissect and watch movies.
Finally, we have to look at Gloria Jean Watkins, who you probably know best as Bell Hooks. What is so profound about her work is that she fundamentally viewed theory not as some dry, abstract academic exercise, but as a practical, vital tool for survival and healing. For her, theorizing was a lived practice. It was absolutely necessary for marginalized people to be able to articulate their realities and actually dismantle systemic oppression.
Her radical philosophy demands what she calls intersectional humanism, which means we have to address race, class, and gender all at the exact same time. She invites men into feminist masculinity with the goal of freeing them from the emotional limitations of toxic patriarchy. And she profoundly redefines love, not just as a fleeting emotion, but as an active, radical political act, a conscious will to nurture spiritual growth in ourselves and others.
For those of you specifically in English and education studies, Hooke's concept of engaged pedagogy is a real game changer. It demands that we completely dismantle traditional authoritarian classrooms. Instead, we replace them with democratic, inclusive learning communities. It prioritizes the self-actualization and wholeness of everybody in the room, ensuring both the students and the teachers' voices are truly valued.
As we wrap up this masterclass explainer, I want to leave you with a question to really chew on. How will you systematically apply these theoretical frameworks to uncover deeper meanings within your own humanistic discipline? Whether you're decoding a linguistic structure, composing a piece of music, or analyzing historical texts, these theories are absolutely the ultimate tools for your craft. Thank you so much for exploring this with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.